All right, all right, all right. What's going on? Happy Friday night. Thank goodness this week was crazy in a lot of ways, and glad to be here. Glad to have a little something in my glass. I hope you are too. And yeah, so just myself tonight, more than likely. I don't know if anyone else is going to drop in, but hey, I'm all you got. I'm all you need. So that's all the way I see it right now. Um, yeah, I hope you guys have had a great week. I can tell you right now, like I said at the top here, honestly, it was a long week, but we made it through. Traveled early this week for work. Gonna give everybody a few minutes to kind of join here, so gonna kill a little time. Yeah, while I sniff on this wilderness trail, we'll talk about that first. Um, but still a good productive week. I mean, we always have to have those weeks where things just hectic, but in the end, it works out. And a lot of things set up this week. So before we get into that, you may have seen on the Insta working on merch. So that's showing pretty decently. There we go. So working on merch. I like this a lot. I'm trying to use a local supplier. We'll see. I definitely want to work with them. I have to work through pricing and figure all that out. And then should have some shirt designs. I have them in mind. I just have to actually put them onto some sort of workable digital file, as it were, to get them out for you guys. So it looks like, yeah, you guys are building in fast tonight. Thank you. Look at you guys. This is awesome. I like it. Let's start off, obviously, by asking the first question, and I'll jump into the first drink, and we'll just chat it up, see where it goes. That's how it always works. You guys know that. So, don't be afraid. Drop in the comments. What's in your glass? What are you guys sipping on? I know I have another person who may chime in here in a minute who's actually sipping on another barrel pick of Wilderness Trail. This is my first one I'm jumping into for you guys tonight. Wilderness Trail, you guys may be familiar with them. They are about an hour south and west of Lexington, or about an hour east and south of Bardstown. This happens to be a barrel pick from our Eskimo brothers, which, obviously we get those at Dive Wine and Spirits down here. It is a riff off of a TV show, Dr. Heist. Just so happens one of the founders' last name is Heist. So that's kind of cool how it plays in, ties in there. This is a sweet mash, so we're at 64 corn, 24 wheat, 12% malted barley, copper column distilled, 4 years, 5 months, heavy char. I love the information they give you. Heavy char on the barrel. So I absolutely poured this a few minutes ago, and I've been nosing a little bit here and there. Philadelphia Whiskey Society Wilderness pick. Yeah. On first blush, when I smelled this, I definitely knew it was a wheater. There's no question about that. I got definitely a little light oak. Got some what initially was coming across as water for now. All right, love the hat. Thank you. I'll come back to comments a little bit. I might let a few of them stack up. Initially, what was absolutely toffee-like at first for me, and now it's turning into more of potentially a burnt vanilla, burnt sugar. A little floral off of here too. So far, the nose for this product, with it only being just over a 4-year product, I'm pretty happy because we're at 113 proof here. And so, as you know, that the alcohols could really take over, and they're not really overpowering this. It's pretty nicely well done, to be honest with you, on the nose. Like I said, it's been over about 15 minutes because this is a fresh bottle crack tonight. So I like to try to leave them open when it is, just so I make sure we do the dreaded neck pour thing, which might be a clue about the shirt potentially, maybe. But yeah, let's take a sip of this, see where we're at, and then we'll kick off some conversations, see what else everybody's saying out there. Again, thanks for joining this evening. Hopefully you're able to kick back, relax with me for an hour and a half or so. Who knows? Maybe shorter, maybe longer. We don't know. We'll see where it goes. The taste definitely comes into more of the vanilla and a little burnt sugar. I'm getting a hit of cinnamon at the very mid to back palate. It's nice though. It's actually like ground cinnamon, like fresh. Not a huge hug for 113, and this is my first bourbon of the evening. Decently long finish. It's kind of a oaky kind of cinnamon finish. So that was a nice first sip. This product came really highly recommended as a barrel pick. I don't know what your experience like is there, Dave. It's these things are potentially could be vastly different depending on the rick house, depending on when that pick was done versus when ours was done, and things like that. So yeah, getting really similar flavor profiles. Just a really well put together product. I mean, you can tell that definitely because the oak is not really a huge expression, that it's a younger product in particular. But I wouldn't have known that off the alcohol necessarily, because a lot of times that's a giveaway. And whatever they've done here has done a nice job, um, or whatever the nature did to the barrel, right? We don't know if they did anything particular, obviously. Has really done a nice job here. It's actually very enjoyable for a younger product. Now, it's not ultra young, right? I mean, there's definitely younger on the market, but it's not going to be, a bourbon or whatnot if that's the case. But really enjoyable. Glad I kind of held on to this and was able to do a fresh bottle crack, because we're often kind of going back to things that are already open. Like later on, we'll get to that Westward, and I can't wait to get to that one. That one's a super fun one to do. If you guys haven't tried any American single malts yet, let's hold on to that thought. We'll get back to that here in a little while. They're wild. They're because we think about our Scotch and whatnot, and hats off. I'm not saying the American product's superior. It's not the case. It's just feels like a different animal entirely. And we'll get to that, obviously. I've got a beer in between, as you guys know. What do you guys think of that? I'm really want to just let you guys get a preview of what's going to possibly be consumed. I know that was fun. Obviously, Dave, you were able to pair tonight. I keep looking at the laptop. It's over here. Sorry, guys. I had to do a little different setup tonight. And it's really neat to hear that when somebody knows what we're drinking and maybe possibly able to kind of drink along with us. So that's kind of the idea there. What do you think? Yeah, reasonably complex, drinks below its proof, a lot of caramelized sugars for me. Couldn't have said it better than that, to be honest with you. I'm gonna come in for a second sip, see if anything else emerges, but that first sip was dead on. Just a really enjoyable sipper. I mean, it's rare that you say that about something that climbs above 110. It's I guess it's not rare, but it's less common the higher you get above 110 to say that. And this thing, yeah, it would sneak up on you, I think. Yeah, second sip, a lot of the same. The vanilla, while it was like a burnt sugar, there's a little more sweetness on the second sip, but it's not like it made a quantum leap and like was ridiculously large. Hey, Michter's barrel strength rye. We'll come back to that in a little bit too, Nick. We'll talk about that. I'm assuming you're saying that for a reason, because you are drinking it, but we also know this week what we dropped out there. So we'll come back to that. But if I'm looking at this as kind of an insta review type thing, I would say, I'm definitely going to look into the Wilderness Trail line a little more maybe than I had in the past. And I never thought they were a bad product. It's just with so much out there, you have to kind of pick and choose your battles for most people. And for me, this was one that I didn't really pick up off the shelf. And honestly, I didn't even know where they were exactly until today when I was doing a little bit of pre-show research. And it turns out, they're really kind of off the beaten path compared to most of the other things that you consider in Kentucky. Not terribly far. You could easily go from Lexington, kind of make the loop down over to Bardstown, but it would be out of your way. But now, I mean, this is a little over an hour from Sarah's parents where they stay on the lake. So, if we go up and visit them at some point, I'm like, well, this is one of the closest distilleries there now. And I didn't realize that. So, yeah. So I'm really enjoying that. Again, for those of you guys that maybe just joined or weren't sure, doing this Wilderness Trail, this is a store pick. So admittedly, you're not going to go find the exact product on the shelf. But after hearing Dave's experience with his store pick, these are all essentially based off their bottle and bond recipe, is what I come to understand. It's the same mash bill, at least I guess I should say. Maybe that's not 100% fair, because it could be a different yeast strain and things. This is the Firm Pro 1. So I'm assuming they're using, for this batch, they were using some sort of lab created, not a house propagated type yeast. I don't know if that's the same as beer. I assume it is, because you make a beer first before you make any whiskey. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. I would say give it a shot. They definitely have a rye product. And then if I'm not mistaken, they have just an American whiskey, which I think is billed as like the gray label. So I can't really say much about those. I didn't try those, but this has been super enjoyable this evening. I'm actually beside myself that I have this bottle now. So this will be one I'll revisit. I'm kind of hoping what maybe happens, and we'll make some predictions, potentially, is that we start to see a little bit more depth on some of that particular oak. I'm hoping maybe this, as the air gets into this, we can pull that oak out just a little bit, because that's actually what's really missing for me. And I'm not a big over oaked kind of guy typically. Same yeast strain there. Awesome. Yeah. So maybe that's just the house yeast strain they've been using for some amount of time. Who knows, right? We don't know. But I'm really hoping maybe, and it would be atypical. I don't think this is common that you're going to get more oak out of it. But if it did kind of express itself a little more as we get down to that neck and blow down past the shoulder of the bottle, maybe that would be really something that would really pull it all together. If I were to tell you, if you saw this or another pick on the shelf, yeah, it's worth a pickup. I think I paid $55 for it. That's not bad for a pick. I mean, you're finding in that range anywhere from $45 to $65 is kind of where a lot of these are sitting, especially if they're not huge bottles to start with. Obviously, if somebody's rolling up on a Stag Junior because they got lucky in the lottery last year or something, that's gonna be $75, $85, $95, $100. But this one at $55, definite buy again. And I'm gonna give it some of their other product line a chance. So that great way to start the evening in my book, absolutely. So what else is out? Who else is out there drinking? I've got a couple things so far. We've got water from Sarah Lame. We've got I can say that, right? I'm allowed to, I think, or I'll just get in trouble later. It's what I usually do anyway. So yeah, we got Nick. Oh, let me come back to barrel strength rye. So I think Nick brought that up for a point. He was drinking that because maybe he saw our video we put out this week. So we have really stepped our game up in terms of the production value on our videos. That said, we are in a transitionary period where we may still have some coming off the old equipment. And so you may see a huge jump for a couple weeks, and then one or two of these that come back to some footage from the old equipment. So bear with us while we're working through that. What I can say 100% is, wow, just the difference the set is making and the new equipment, and then just letting everything happen. It was super fun to shoot that Michter's barrel strength. And I got to tell you, outside of the weird olive note, and you guys, most of you guys, I think, that are on here know me well enough, that was 100% genuine. It just struck me. You get back into something, you're nosing it, and then all of a sudden, something kind of comes up, and you're like, what is that? And it was salty. And the first thing I thought was olive. It may not have necessarily been that. But then for James to come back later, and if you haven't watched the whole video, it's not giving anything away, but for James to come back later and say, like, a sauce of some sort, a sub sauce, that kind of confirmed there's something there where there's some other interesting. So yeah, so go check out that video if you haven't already. So please do. It would really mean a lot to us. Obviously, leave us comments. If you feel compelled, please give us a like on that video. It's only 10 minutes. We're going to try and keep those reviews at 10 minutes versus some of the other content's going to creep up towards 15, 18, or 20 when it's multiple bottles or multiple tastings we're trying to do. So yeah, Dave, so I'm at 4 years, 5 months, 4 char, same. I'm in Rickhouse A, S3D7. Yep, so, different Rickhouse even. So that's pretty cool. Absolutely. So if you haven't checked out the Michter's Barrel Strength, please do. It's worth a watch. The leaps and gains we're making is great. It's not 100% where we want it yet, but I am tickled with the improvements we're making. And again, bear with us during this transition. You may still see something on the old equipment that may not quite be of the same quality. We're going to work through that and then get all on the new equipment. I did purchase, we used James's camera for this last one. I purchased the camera last week. It should be here Monday or Tuesday. And yeah, who knew getting into YouTube meant that you would actually become, quasi knowledgeable in all this videography and stuff. I mean, there was a certain element of it, right? But Michael Mendoza, new Riff single barrel, complaints of a certain launch party. I think you meant compliments, but if you're complaining, we can talk offline about that. No, that thing, I haven't revisited it since a couple weeks before launch party, and that thing was still kicking like, root beer, sarsaparilla, all that vibe. You really got to kind of like that vibe, but that was what was so unique about that pick that we did. And that's the only pick I've done. We're hoping to do some more here soon. Nothing to announce about that. Nothing really in the pipe, but it's starting to kind of wind up, and we may get there. We will get there eventually. So I'm very excited about that. I got to kill that glass off. Okay. So I did finally start to get a little more ethanol on that last little sip as it's opened up. I don't think that's unexpected, though. You start to get your palate coated, and you start to really get some of the more pronounced things that maybe were not quite at the top of your tasting experience. Not negative in any way whatsoever. Was just sort of, if I had to say it, maybe just a little more heat, so to speak, but it wasn't hot by any extent. It's not giving me that huge hug. So that was absolutely an enjoyable pour for the first pour of the evening. I'm really not sure about transitioning over to the next one now, though. In all honesty, we, we've been so whiskey heavy here on the channel, and that's on purpose. I mean, it's really where a lot of our interests are right now, to be honest with you. But we don't want to forget our beer roots. Give me a second, pardon me. And so I'm going through what little cellar I have left for my beer, and Ryan Cushback, if you're out there, thank you for this one. This is Casey Brewing and Blending, which is out there in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, for those of you that may not know. And Ryan lives out in Colorado, and I'm his trustee for Gary's Yeast Meadery. So he sends me thank you boxes, which are way too generous all the time. And talking things like this, it's one of those things that harkens back to that old beer community. If you guys were maybe never a part of it, or really never got involved in the trading game, or never got involved in any of that, it harkens back to those days where you always almost tried to one up each other with that box that you sent somebody, because they knew what you were sending, but then you'd slip something else or one or two other things in there just to be like, hey, dude, you're a good dude. You sent me good stuff. Let me send you a few extras here and surprise you. A lot of that sometimes came down to like really, really, names like Casey that you might know. But sometimes that meant giving that little local hidden gem, and things like that when a new brewery opened, or you got new distro in your state that maybe you knew that person didn't have. And so, the same thing kind of applies here. Like it's generally accepted in the industry, or in the whole beer community, even the bourbon for that matter, but it's a little less frequent that you send a thank you box if somebody proxies for you. And Ryan just hits it out of the park. It's not to put anyone else to shame by any stretch of the imagination. I know Dave has spoiled me. Too. I mean, he sent me the FAEO2 for muling for him. So I mean, you just find a lot of great people. It's not all secondary shitlords, and I think that unfortunately gets the rap that it deserves, but it's not all. It's all great people out there. So I have a towel on standby just in case, because every now and then you open one of these bottles and they will decide to go on you a little bit. This one was bottled on 8/9/21, so almost a year ago at this point. You probably can't see that. It's a golden sweet apricot. So for those of you that aren't familiar with what Casey primarily does, they do ales aged in oak barrels. So soured beer typically aged in the ale, or excuse me, in oak barrels. So still kind of near and dear to the heart of the channel that we're doing with, oak, things of that nature. But this is just beer. And it's such a beautiful location. If you haven't been out there, I advise getting a rental car that has good brakes. You can ask Dave Cameron about that. And it looks like we're going to be okay. We don't have any extra activity, so we'll throw that down on the floor. It's about 3 hours from Denver, so it's not like it's a quick drive. You can go to Denver and get there. It's a whole day you're going to have to put in. And we went before their tap room was open in downtown Glenwood Springs, which they have a tap room now instead of just their barrel facility. But their barrel facility sits right on the river. It's like a little industrial building. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that like the setting of the building itself is 100% romantic and quaint. It's got its charms, but it's just an amazing little thing. And the drive over from Denver, you get to like 11,000 feet and you go through the Eisenhower Tunnel on I-70, which is like at 10,000 plus feet. And it's like you're transformed into a whole other world once you go through the tunnel. You're climbing up. And we actually saw like a little snow left on the ground, because I think it was, I can't remember if it was March when we went. I don't recall. Maybe it was fall. I can't recall. But yeah, kudos. Thank you to Ryan Cushback for sending this. I'm probably going to nurse this a little, because I know this generally is, at least a lot of Casey's can be sometimes acidic to me. So we'll probably just pour a little, and then I will do my best. That's not going to go back in there. Not a chance. Yep. I'll do my best to get that preserved so I can try to have some more later. That's about the best we're going to be able to do there. It's not really that great of a job. But so for those of you that are unfamiliar, so Casey absolutely sources as much fruit as they can locally. And so, no OPA when I pop the cork. Sorry. That part of the story is actually the reason why Dave's bringing that up, is because when you do go, and they used to be that you kind of booked a tasting, is essentially what you did, a lot like a bourbon trail tour. And the gentleman that worked at the bar, he's actually originally from Florida. And a few people, in general know him. And whenever he popped the bottle, he'd do the Opa. So yeah, I apologize. I didn't do the Opa. I guess I'm not doing it justice, Dave. You are right about that. But mm, so when you smell a beer like this, you're going to get some of that just pungent sour. And when I say pungent, I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean that when you sour a beer, it's going to have that kind of um, tart nose. That's the best way to describe it, I guess. But that said, I'm still getting apricot fruit. And apricot sometimes, as you know, especially like can be a little temperamental, right? Depends on how well you handled the fruit, how long it's been resting on it. And unfortunately, I don't seem to see any indications to how long this rested on theirs. And I don't know off the top of my head if there is a specific amount of time that they do rest their fruit on these series. I know they name the series based off like jammy, which means it has double the fruit and things like that. But some of this knowledge has escaped me over time. I'm getting old now. My brain is just only able to hold so much. No, you guys know what I mean. It's just like you get into you get into bourbon, you get other things, and it's in here somewhere. It'll probably hit me like as soon as I go off stream, like, oh yeah, I knew that. It was 9 months, whatever. Um, no, they did. So, like I said, some of the cases hit me just a touch acidic. Not like your big upland acidic like out of Indianapolis. Um, this one is just really refreshing, as a matter of fact. In fact, um, if I were to set this down, you could almost put it in front of someone and tell them it's like a blended breakfast, cocktail. That's really where this goes in my mind. It's Bellini esque, that kind of almost, but it's with apricot, obviously, right? So apricot Bellini, I guess I would say it. But again, you don't have that sweetness per se, so I want to be cautious there to not say it's a total cocktail, but really enjoyable. I'm glad I opened this bottle. I'm glad I sort of tried to save it and make it look like a Halloween ghost or something. Um, you know, we'll probably have a little more of this afterwards. I just want to not fill up on beer in between two bourbons. That's generally not a good idea, um, especially when you look at something that does have some acidity to it. So, man, that's tasty. Now, as compared to, which is really an unfair comparison. So, as compared to some of your apricot fruited lambics, there's really no comparison, unfortunately, to me. Those apricot fruited lambics, whether it be foo or anything else, they just have that funkiness. And this falls a little short on that for me. It's not a knock by any stretch on Casey. That's not what they're going for here. They're not going for a lambic product. But they are going for kind of, the American sour experience is what I like to say. Whether they would say that or not, I don't know. And they nail it. I mean, it's just refreshing, as a matter of fact. And it makes me kind of miss those days where like we would have those bottle shares and somebody like, I got the bottle of jammy. And jammy was almost always like your dark fruits. So you got that really rich experience. Basically what I'm saying is we need a beer share sometime soon, guys. I don't know. Here on that one. So let me go ahead and kill this and then we'll chit chat a little bit. Get into one other thing I want to get into. Two other things. And then get into that last drink and see where else at. If you've poured anything else since we started talking, let me know. Drop it in the comments. I'm just going to leave the what's in your glass up the entire time. It's just the easiest way to do this. I am sure wife Sarah's going to want some of that. That's not going to mess up her tum-tum. So we are not going to be able to jump right into this American single malt. After that, though, we're going to have to take a pause. But so I mentioned the merch earlier, so we got that off the list. I mentioned the Michter's episode. Please, if you haven't, go out and take a peek at that. I may have some folks in Ohio on, I'm assuming. Nick, at least, maybe others. Ohio Meetup is Friday, 8/26. So details are not finalized yet, unfortunately. But I'm not too concerned about that in particular. I know I have a couple of willing partners that are out there. It's just a question of locking it down and understanding times, which it looks like 7 and 9 p.m. Friday night, essentially. So that gives people time to get home, take care of people. The only downside I know for some people is there is Friday night football, high school. It's unfortunate, but I simply can't avoid it because I have to get home at some point, and I'm already there the weekend ahead in Michigan for an event. So I don't have the flexibility to really say I could go Saturday night and then drive home Sunday. I just don't. I wish it's a little regrettable because I'm sure some people may not be able to make it until later. That's not to say the party may not go later, but I have to give myself a day to make sure I'm good. I don't plan on getting wasted, but I have to give myself sure a day that I'm good and can get home safely by Monday. So that's kind of why that's going on. But it's going to be a good time. We will absolutely ensure that we try to duplicate some of the same things with the channel launch, but unfortunately, this isn't a channel launch. This is just a get together meetup. So we'll work it out and make it fun for everyone. I'm not too concerned about that. Long Branch. I do not know a heck of a lot about Long Branch. I've heard about the brand. I don't know. So, Nick, tell us a little bit of details on that bottle real quick while I'm kind of refreshing my palate just a little bit. Of course, we're on delay, guys, so you know that. So, I mean, if he is going to be able to type, it's going to take a minute or two. And I appreciate all you guys out there that have joined this evening. I can't tell you how much. This is support is appreciated. Please, if you're on, YouTube, hit the like button. Facebook, hit the like button. If you're on Facebook and have not hit YouTube, please go over and at least subscribe. Turn the notifications on. Maybe watch a video or two. That really helps. It is free. It really helps us. Leave us comments, guys. We absolutely want to know what you guys like, what you don't like. It's important to us at this early stage where we have a chance to really talk to folks that are joining us to make sure we understand that and are trying to do our best to meet some of those needs. So, Wild Turkey, aged 8 years with a Texas twist, per Matthew McConaughey. Oh, how did I know that was McConaughey? MC quotation. I recall that now. Long Branch being Matthew McConaughey's brand or whatever, celebrity brand. How is it? Celebrity brands to me are hit or miss. More miss than hit typically, but that's not to say that they can't be good. I just know that a lot of folks tend to look at them and go, oh my, what's going on Instagram? We're getting blown up somehow on Instagram. Like real. Oh, hey, Bourbon Leather. Hey, Bourbon Leather. Shout out if you're out there watching by any chance. If you are, but I see you out there on Instagram liking some things, so thank you. But yeah, let's jump into this next one. So this one, Dave Cameron, if you're still on, you probably remember this. This is the Westward Whiskey American Single Malt. I held this one for the end on purpose for a couple of reasons. One, it's 125 proof. Two, it is such a unique beast. This is a Buy-Rite single barrel. So Buy-Rite is a chain, a grocery store chain, if I'm not mistaken, but they have a liquor chain obviously associated with them in the Pennsylvania and New Jersey area. I think they're in Pennsylvania. I don't recall. I know it was Jersey where we actually got this one. These guys are located out of Portland, Oregon. And this is actually their own distillate. They barreled it there. They use, high, whatever elevation Portland's at. Obviously they have a water supply that comes down. And they're actually a unique product in the market right now. They've won a ton of awards in terms of being, out there with their single malt product for American style. And I didn't even know that. So Buy-Rite's in Jersey. Thanks, Dave. You gifted a pour at work today. Very nice. Yes, Marla. So we are looking into it. I absolutely want to carry a hat like this. I want to use a local vendor. I'm just working on pricing and trying to figure all that out, along with some shirts and whatnot. Hopefully to have at least something to offer for the Ohio meetup, if not very shortly after online. So you're drinking Balvenie Caribbean Cask. Whoa, you're jumping way out there. That's in Dave Cameron territory, Michael Mendoza. You should talk to him. It really is getting out there. Caribbean Cask, so a little rum finish, likely. So let me jump back into this because it's super interesting. I didn't know this. It makes sense, all of it. And I'm going to look at some notes here, so I apologize. I'm not kind of making a lot of eye contact, but American Single Malt, you would imagine there, of course, is American Single Malt Society or American Single Malt. There's a governing body or a body that has gotten together and claimed to be what determines what American Single Malt is. And there's 6 criteria. It's 100% malted barley. So I don't think that's really shocking anyone. Single malt, right? It says it in the name. Distilled at one distillery. So, the idea here is it's not going to be a blended product from multiple distilleries necessarily. It could certainly still be blended, but it has to be there. Mashed, distilled, and matured in the United States. So that's a key distinction. Obviously, I think American single malt, right? Some of these things, again, pretty straightforward. Matured in oak casks less than 700 liters. So they put a size limit on the cask that it can be aged in, which I thought was interesting that they use the metric as well. You know, so it is what it is. Just so happens that Westward uses traditional 53-gallon oak barrels when you look at their material on their website. Distilled to no more than 160 proof. That one I really found kind of interesting. I mean, obviously, when you get out past 140, it's hazmat to begin with. If I recall correctly from the literature, they do distill their product up, and the barrel entry is not this high, but they distill their product up to like 142, if I recall. And then barrel entry is much lower. They water prior to going in the barrel, or dilute, I should the correct way to say it. And then bottled at least 80 proof. So, I mean, you know, a lot of those things just tend to follow the trends and the way that bourbon and whiskey would be considered. But I just think it's neat that we're able to say this about, you know, hey, here's our product. And, you know, it's not necessarily a bourbon, but it is a super interesting product from, you know, the Northwest. And so on the nose immediately, you get almost like a little, like, I hate to do this because it's such a dorky thing to do. It's like you're walking through a musty forest, but not in a stinky kind of way, in the way that like you catch that waft of air as you're sitting down. Yeah, real descriptive, I know, but like, and you're like, yeah, look at you. I don't think you hike that much, but I have done a similar exercise like that before. Beyond that, there's a touch of leather, which is kind of strange because you're like, we shouldn't. Where's that coming from? And then I do get this hint of like a really roasted, faint roasted characteristic in there. It's not a primary hint of anything that you're really going to get, but it's a super unique nose. And the more you smell it, you could almost imagine a stretch that it smells like a wet tobacco going in a cigar in a good way. It's all these analogies are horrible. At least they sound horrible to me. But when I say it that way, I think that's going to make sense to some people. So wet tobacco leaf maybe is a better way to say that. Anyway, it doesn't sound as interesting as it is. Where it really shines, and I'll take a sip here in a second to make sure it still is was the taste. I mean, obviously, this bottle is not a fresh crack tonight. It was opened previously. We're down past the shoulder. We're actually down past the true shoulder of the bottle now. And it, to me, is where you're just blown away. So, and yeah, still. So, if you remember, I said there's a little roasty note in there. That note comes through in a really, really big way when you actually drink it. And the way it comes across to me is the way we had expressed this, and when we tasted this the last time. It comes across to me almost as like an affogato coffee or a coffee ground. It's strange that you don't get it that prominent on the nose. But when you get this, you can picture that just pure, beautiful, expressed, maybe like a slow drip black coffee, but not pure black coffee. It's kind of got a little bit of maybe just that shade of dark fruit on it too. This thing is just wildly interesting. If I recall, Second Sip brought us some other fun things. I don't remember what they are off the top of my head, so it'll be fun to kind of experience that in front of you guys. But it's just a wild ride when you're expecting things because it departs. And I suppose I'm just not that knowledgeable with Scotch. I suppose there's probably some Scotches out there. And Dave Cameron, please chime in if you're here, or anyone. I suppose there's some Scotches that maybe take you that direction of giving you some of the coffee, black coffee, the bean experience. I've just not tried enough to know. And I'm just gonna be open and honest with you guys. I'm really into a lot of the American whiskey, American bourbon, now American single malt products. I do need to expand my horizons. It's part of this journey. Part of what this channel wants to cover at some point is to show that growth and to help people understand, like, it's okay to approach things. It's okay to have your opinion, and it's okay to say what you're experiencing. All too often I see situations where people like either clam up or they're not sure because they think they're going to be wrong. I'd rather put it out there, possibly be wrong because I'm just so far off, but at least know as I'm comparing to someone else. So if I sit and I drink a few times with someone and we're getting something slightly different, I know what they're picking up on. They know what I'm picking up on. We can have a common language and talk about it and say, well, you're getting at this. And a good example of that is in the Michter's barrel strength video. So you'll have to go back and watch that. Why? Because on the nose, early on, it doesn't come out, but later on in the nose, there's a note that James got that I didn't, and a note that I got that James didn't. Both very real though when we talked about it and explained it. So coffee isn't a kind of scotch, so that could be a cool new thing about American single malts. Yeah, I don't know that that is actually going to be a thing across all American single malts. I tend to think this is maybe a bit I won't say an outlier, but this is a bit less in the sweet spot, right? But I don't know if they still have this bottle at the Buy-Rite, Dave. But if you're up there, check, because I mean it's super unique. If I were to just have given this to you and you wouldn't have actually taken a huge nose on it, you might have actually said, "Is this some sort of coffee treated, coffee finished something or other?" Right? And I could totally see why you might say that. Yeah. So um it's like an earthy coffee. So this is so bad because Sarah and I've been trying to get into a little more coffee, a little more, you know, single source, single origin type coffee things. But we still have our flavored coffees. But what it reminds me of is like one of the ones Cycle did in one of their beers a while back. I believe it was Yurgachev, if I'm not mistaken. So it was one of the ones that comes from a dustier, more arid, a little more earthy. And that absolutely was kind of where this goes for me. And it's so unexpected because you think American single malt, you think on the nose, when I literally meant it, I explained there was some like forest floor wafting kind of notes, and you just don't expect it to go this way on you. And it's actually really great. And I can't honestly say how much that this one, I wish I'd have grabbed another now knowing this, but there's no way I could have known that. I just went on a flyer on it. Let's go Red Scare. Okay, yeah. I saw that was what they started that at UD a few days ago. I know that's basketball. What is it? The alumni? Not alumni, but like it's a, or is it alumni teams? I can't remember. But absolutely. So, Dave, I mean, honestly, if you get a chance, or anyone that's near Buy-Rite, I don't know which location it was. I assume they all got it and had to split it. If you see this, I want to say it was around $80, so it wasn't cheap. But at the same time, I think you'll find it's one of the most unique experiences you'll have in American whiskey. At least it is for me so far. It's quite interesting. It's in a good way, but it's why I saved it for last too. So the one thing I want to throw in here that I've just totally overlooked at 125 proof, you can't tell. It's not there. It's masked so well by that big bold flavor, and tip off versus West Virginia team, nice. That you just don't actually taste that proof, and it's dangerous. So for me, this is well, I'll probably grab one off the shelf here still and chat with you guys a little more. For me, this is more of a night ender type, and maybe even like a half pour like I did, because you're going to get that kind of experience as if you're winding down the evening with a little cup of coffee. And it's a wonderful thing, right? But at 125 proof, you're just not going to pour yourself a full dram or dram over dram a night and each night and go through this bottle, in my opinion. No judgment here if you do, right? I mean, that might be what you'd end up doing, but let me scoot back here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to grab something real quick. We're going to do the official part that I know certain people are very excited about. 3 drinks down. So that was officially 3 drinks down. So we're going to go into some overtime here. I think this one, I don't have my ears on, so I have no idea. I think this one's on the house. This round's on the house. Yeah, this one's on the house. So this one's on the house, guys. I'm going to get into this before signing off this evening. I'm going to get into this Maker's Mark pick that was at our local store at Norman's. I tend to have enjoyed everything from Makers that are these staves that I've tried. Obviously, the FAA2. Thank you, Dave. This one is stave profile 6 for Maker's Mark 46. So trying to get that punched up Maker's experience. 2 from Roasted French Mocha. So they're trying to get some more depth and some more of that French expression. And 2 French Spice. So I'm kind of wondering if this comes across a little, obviously chocolatey, right? Is what you would hope at first. Or if this comes across a little more almost in that same vein of like what I'm drinking now, where it comes across almost even potentially a little more Java-y, if that's a word, but I just made it one, so I don't care. Write rinse glasses. Now I didn't bring enough glasses, did I? Nope. Well, let me finish this, and then we'll do a little rinsing on the fly. But yeah, this was $54. It's pretty much average for these type of things. If you're near larger market with larger liquor stores, in particular like Chicagoland, you can walk in and find dozens of these picks. They just go and do them, and man, that is such a coffee. Oh my goodness, it's I looked over the video and saw some like cringes on my face. It's not bad. It's just I'm trying to get all that flavor because it hits your jaws, right? You know, I'm using jaws on purpose because it just sinks down in your mouth, and it's not intense. It's just like you're sitting with a nice, just like I said, slow drip, just coffee. Dave, if you can't find it, let me know. I'll send you a sample. I'm gonna need a little more water than that, but we just got that glass rinsed out. So, oh man, you guys. Well, I honestly also have to say that, so far it's hard to believe, but we are about 4 months in. We've got over 30 pieces of content out there. Most of them are lives. That's okay. We're going to build up that library of recorded content. But this has been an absolute blast and a joy. And I appreciate all of you guys for just coming along and providing anything input-wise, anything feedback-wise. Talking about merch even, I mean, that's the main thing, right? Because eventually I would like this channel to at least sustain itself without having to pay for some of the connections and things like that. It's not a big deal. It's a labor of love right now. It's not a complaint. And then eventually I would love to grow it to where it is a community where we think about some premium potential content and services and things like that. And then very long term, as you guys know, without boring you guys, I really would love for this to be a full-fledged channel where we don't just do whiskey or craft beer. We get into coffee. We get into if somebody is a cocktail expert, which we already are going to make sure we fold in some more cocktail ideas right now in the very near future, at least in live streams and things like this. We want to get out there and potentially be a beverage channel overall. And that's the long-term vision and the pipe dream at the moment. So we will get there eventually. All right, let's get into this Normans. Let's see if the awesomer people like this or not. That was a good one. For a synthetic cork, that was really good. I'll take it. Woodford Double O. Yeah, I have a love affair with Woodford Double Oak, and then I don't. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it at all. It's just I go on a kick where I want it, and then I don't. I don't know. I think we all have those seasons with certain things that we do, no matter what it is, right? I don't know. I mean, I don't think I'm any different than anyone else in that respect. You can almost run something to the ground sometimes, right? Where you're like, Woodford again tonight. Now I'm good. No more Woodford. Then you don't touch it. And we take it for granted because you can just go buy it on the shelf any damn time. Occasionally it'll be out of stock, but it'll be back within a week. Still a great bottle though. But all right, let's get into this. This is a fresh crack as well. So I have no idea what to expect here. I know Maker's main profile, of course. I'll show you guys the bottle again as best I can. See if we can maybe there we go. We got a decent capture on it. So you saw the 6 Maker's 46, the 2 mocha and the 2 spiced. Yeah, French spice. So I can't help when I hear French spice, I can't help but think of Titanic. Draw me like you're French girls. I don't know. Yeah, no, don't do that. That's not funny. Proof too low. Don't at me. What? On Woodford Double Oak? You are a proof hound, aren't you, Mike? Whoa. Big French oak. I did not expect that French oak expression like that on the nose. Really didn't. Because, I mean, the Maker's 46, you do get some of that kicked up oak. But there's that sweet quality from that French oak in this that's coming through. Don't really pick up any mocha, but I have to caution that by saying, even though I rinsed my palate after that Westward, it may be hard for me to get it. I don't know. A little bit of spice. Right on the end. I had to take a real deep draw and get it, but not picking up a ton of alcohol on that. So I'm going to let that sit for a minute, let it open for a minute. Don't at me. I love that. It's really a strange thing. Like This just for you guys, I don't think it's any surprise to know this is coming in at 109.7. That seems to be about the right sweet spot on these makers. This is the Normans now. Yeah, this is the Normans. I have not had it. This is the first experience. Mike, have you had it? I think you have. The nose, there's nothing extraordinary except that you definitely get a sweeter oak. Again, if you take a deep draw, there's a little bit. I didn't mean to flip you guys off. I almost didn't I? There's a little bit of that spice. And if I really think about it, there's definitely some vanilla there. But I mean, that's not surprising on a bourbon. You guys are like, great, Nate, you're smelling all the flavor profiles you should smell on a bourbon or a whiskey. But makers to me has always just been that product that, again, kind of maybe on that rung with Woodford Double Oak in a certain respect, though not for everyone, where it's a good product. We forget because there's other new hotnesses or that's so sexy picks that we have to go get or whatever. And I would tell you that, yes, I would probably lean towards like the cask strength makers if I was going to do it on a regular basis, because I do like the proof a little higher. But man, all right, let's see what we got here. Yeah, Sarah Ann saying positive perks, maybe potentially for a preview for that's a lot of P's. Positive perks, potential preview for a coffee concept. So where it might be where we talk a little about coffee, we talk a little about making sure that you are being kind to yourself, which is our overall channel logo, and a little motivational. Coming soon, potentially ish. Had not that or had any maker expressions. Yeah, the maker expressions are fun. In all honesty, like last year, Tampa Bay area got the sugar cookie, and I didn't get a chance to try it, but everyone raved about it. They said it actually, you have to think a little, you have to kind of put your mind into it, but you can taste the sugar because that's something we can express when we treat with staves and things. And we've recorded Penelope, Architect 1 and 2. So I let that out of the bag a little bit. We've recorded that, and when you stop and think about what Penelope's trying to do with that, it's a lot what Makers has been doing already, right? So Penelope's trying to say we can engineer a flavor profile by studying the staves and knowing what the staves do to our base whiskey. Makers has been doing this already. Bardstown Bourbon Company has been doing this a little bit already. But I think that's where we might be heading as a niche, at least niche, however you guys want to say that word. You say niche, I say niche, whatever. So we can get to that designer bourbon, right? I don't, or boutique bourbon. I don't know what I want to call it. I mean, if I'm not going to term this thing anyway, to be honest with you, no one's going to listen to me, but pecan pie is still waiting on me. I cannot wait. I will be there in 4 weeks. So, I'm going to bring a few goodies too. But yeah, to just close out that point, I think we're staring down the barrel of, you're going to have your large distilleries that have their well-known products always be out there. Your BTAC, move over your Elijah Craig's, all that. It's where else can we fit in the market to give someone a unique experience, right? I mean, hell, it's just kind of what I opined on and said was everything great about this Westward. Now it's a single malt, so that's a little unfair, disingenuous to the whole argument, right? If we're being honest, but at the same time, it is unique. And what we do know is, as long as it's palatable or even very tasty, unique is going to stand out. And so I think that's what they're looking to do with these series when they do this. And some of them are really starting to charge a premium, was kind of what we thought about, the whole thing. The Penelope bottles are running like 60, 65. So they're keeping it, tamped down price wise. These stave picks, I've seen them. A couple of them I saw at Benny's were like $5 or $10 higher than some of the others. Maybe because they involved more staves, or I don't know. I didn't really pay that much attention. And someone ran up to like 70. But these generally sit around the 60 to or lower range. So when we get a chance to experiment with stuff like that, that's wonderful because, it's just the stocks being what they are with all of the aging product out there, whether it be from MGP or now Bardstown getting into that aging game with them buying out Green River. It's going to be tougher and tougher to find aged products, which are just straight. So maybe this is a niche or a way to say I can approach different demographics, right? Because let's be honest, at the end of the day, the distilleries, while they have a ton of tradition they stand on, and they very well should, and I hope that never goes away, analytics are still a thing. They're still real. They are still part of business. It doesn't matter. And so they know maybe something like this plays better in a certain demographic. Maybe it doesn't. They find that out over time. And so it's kind of that neat part where like I look at things and I'm like, I'm not sure I would have ever necessarily been able to cut it like because of a nose or a palate perspective. But from a thought perspective, it all just intrigues me so much. I mean, I'm a nerd like that. I look at it and I say, this is a bourbon for someone. Who is it for? And the answer might be no one, right? Hopefully that's not the case. But in a lot of cases, we can say, either give me a profile and we can try to match it, which is what these guys do or Penelope does, and bring that back around and then blow that out like Bardstown. Like Bardstown is not shy to hang $150, $200 bottles out there. They're just not shy about it because they generally are putting some aged product in there too. It's hard to get. So that's the other thing that kind of really makes it a little more worthwhile. Like a lot of them have, and yes, it may only be 4% of the blend. A lot of them have 16, 17, 18-year product in there to add that depth of oak in particular. They're generally using it for that reason only. Though there's probably an argument to be made that you could certainly get other flavors, but at 16 to 18 years old, you're probably using that for the tannins, the oaks, all of that kind of stuff, right? And you don't need a hell of a lot of it to go very far in some of these blends. In particular, because some of the other things in that blend are still 7, 8, 9 years old. So you're carrying some oak profile there as well. I don't know. I nerded out just now. It is such an interesting thing to me. Blending in general is very interesting to me. It's something that I think would be fun to try. In particular, if you had access to 30 or 40 barrels to try it with. But reality dictates that's, a $200,000 to $400,000 proposition to get into nowadays. And that's if you can get them today. And if you don't have to buy into a future, because there's a whole futures game out there, which is ridiculous in barrels. That's where we've gotten to with the industry and in certain segments. And I know I focus a little soft, guys. I'm sorry. I'm going to try and scoot forward to make sure I don't go out of focus. But it's just that whole part of the industry and whole thought process is just intriguing to me because it is almost like they're trying to say, we can make this product and it will fit here and whatnot. And who knows? Maybe they will get to the point where there is a way they can take something that was on a rick house in floor 3 for 6 years and know that by giving these staves to it, it's going to be within this tolerance of this flavor profile. And it should go to I'll be extreme now. It should go to the North Dakota market because they're going to love it. Maybe they can. I don't know. This is really starting to open up. It wants to come through with a floral taste, and then there's a flat malty, which I assume is like the mocha, the little bit of mocha that got imparted. As I speak British, I don't know how good I do it, but anyway, let's not do that anymore. And then a little bit of spice on the end, which I think also pairs well with some of the little bit of heat that's in this. If I'm being honest, it's probably not that remarkable for me. It's tough. I should probably not have come after that Westward single malt because that was a really bold flavor. So maybe there's still some of that kind of warming up on my palate. But I'm not disappointed that I picked up this bottle because again, we haven't even gotten down to the shoulder. And I do believe that things generally open up as you get down and past the shoulder. In fact, that's something that, while I have a few of you here, answer this for me, guys, because James and I and Ryan and I think I've had a conversation with Greg about it too. We eventually are thinking about the idea of actually doing ratings with reviews. We don't just want to do it for the sake of doing it. I think I ripped off one when Mike Kochman joined the live stream one night for fun, and he put me on the spot on Penelope Architect 1, and it was the neck pour. But our view on this is that the rating has to be done in context. So what I mean by that is I have 2 of these that I open tonight. By design, I should get an opportunity to come back and re-rate that when the bottle is a little more depleted. So there'd always be 2 rankings at minimum whenever you open a fresh crack. What do you guys think about that? Does that seem logical to you? It seemed logical to us because we've just had so many experiences where we're like, this was meh, or this was great. And then you come back to like, this isn't quite as great as I remember. And then what we would say is there'd be some sort of way to average that or weigh that essentially. And that would be for us to think about potentially. But Or do you guys say, hell no, just tell me if you'd buy it at retail and tell me if it's worth secondary? I don't know. What's the most value to you guys when you think about reviews? That's kind of what I'm getting at. And I'll sit here and wait. No, I'm just kidding. Kidding. But yeah, if you guys could leave a comment. 3 ratings? What do you mean by 3 ratings, Nick? Do you mean like nose taste overall, or do you mean like open neck and bottom, or excuse me, open below shoulder and near end, or what do you think? What are you trying to say there? Help me out with that a little bit. And anyone else, please jump in, because we're trying to figure out what would be the most interesting but still accurate. And gosh, I don't know what happened. I had good focus. Now I got to lean further forward. Neck, body, tail. Okay, I could see that. And then obviously, if you start with the body, you have to get rid of the neck and just do the body and the tail. The real challenge there is that you may not get to the tail for some time. I don't know if you guys noticed behind me, but I still have these old elks that we're waiting to do something with, and we haven't opened them. And I'm chomping at the bit because I want to get into those guys. Combine the two as a rate once fresh and revisit, but I also love to hear something you'd buy at retail or secondary. Okay. Yeah. So that's the direction we leaned on the MBSR that we just did. If you haven't watched it, you still have to go watch and see what we said. And then like, comment, subscribe, right? Because that's the thing you say when you're on YouTube. So we are going to be better about that. We are going to be better about the call to action. It is something that we're really serious. I joke, but we need to be a little better about it. I think that's the way we leaned, but we wanted to be sure that multiple ratings went, in particular, when you open a bottle fresh, made sense. That's kind of, at least 2 of you have kind of said that's a direction to go, and it makes sense. We talked to a few other people offline about it, and they seem to like that idea too. We'll have to kick around how that fits in. For now, what I can say is we're definitely going to tell you, buy it retail, buy it current secondary is always going to be a part at the current moment of how that goes. Yeah, I mean, so it's just an interesting thing. I don't want to make it too convoluted either, right? So that's the hard part. Because we're trying to cram a review into a 10-minute video, right? And so you could easily spend 4 minutes wrapping that up alone if you weren't careful. Again, digestible content people can watch, listen to in the car, turn their, whatever, put their phone down, listen to in the car, that type of stuff. If they want to do the podcast style, that's kind of the idea there. So appreciate the feedback. That's good. Good to know that there's an interest, but it may be keep it succinct is what I'm hearing there. Don't go, only go as deep as you need to, right? That's usually kind of the motto on a lot of things. That makes a lot of sense. Very, very cool. Well, anyone else crack anything else before we maybe think about calling it an evening? Anyone else crack anything new besides jokes or anything like that? So. More links that people can click on. Well, yeah, I mean, I got to be honest with you. Like the whole stance on the website right now for me, I mean, I have the domain reserved. It's partitioned away. I don't even have it redirected. It's an interesting proposition. Like right now, it's not a need for us to absolutely have a website. That need may be coming sooner or later. And then, yes, we talk about possibly diving into the content in a unique way. Clickable links that you get you into certain things. Open a Buy-Rite ECBP. Oh, cool. Nice. What are the specs on that, Dave? But yeah, so as I'm going to ask about that, but that triggered my memory on something. Yeah, so definitely going to look at the website thing. I won't say that's coming anytime soon. It's definitely not a high priority at the moment. The only reason it might be is for merch. And I can always stand up a page or two that's just directed to specifically to the main URL with the sub pages and whatnot out there. We'll go there. So I'm not too concerned. Yeah. So Dave, real quick, while you're maybe typing that. So I was in Jacksonville this week, as I mentioned, and I picked up an Elijah Craig pick as well. And what caught my eye on this one was 123.1 proof, which, decent proof for these picks nowadays. This bad boy is an 11 year. Like you're not seeing stuff get out of Elijah Craig that's more than 8 or 9 years right now. This is from Shores. They're a small liquor chain up there. So if you guys know Jacksonville area very well, The guy told me that they've been flying off the shelves, and not just because it's 11 year. People have been coming back and saying, I crushed that bottle and I need another one. So I'm really hopeful on that one. That's going to be just a sleeper that I can pull out at some point. Yeah, 124.3, 10 year. Top 10 list. Look at that. Andy Hill just poured an 11-year ECBP. That's what I just showed, Andy. Yeah, so I'm really excited to get into this because I won't be doing it tonight, obviously. But matchers. Yeah, I know. We matchers. We're the sames. But it's really an interesting thing with Elijah Craig right now for me. Like I haven't tracked down the B522 batch. I need to. But the A batch, wasn't great for me this year. It wasn't bad. And then last year's C batch, I enjoyed it okay. So I've been trying to look for the picks. Obviously, I bought that pick up in Jersey. So top 10 list is an interesting proposition, Nick. That I struggle because I know as a community, so whether I am or not widely known as this, whether the channel is widely known as this, we are part of what's called Whiskey Tube in a way, right? Whether we're super popular or we're just here and right now just this small 118.4. That is super low. I bet you can't even taste the alcohol on that hardly. And so there are a few channels that do reviews or they do tasting competitions and they keep top 10 lists. It's not that I don't want to do the idea. Matchers toast the barrel. It's just that I want to be careful not to reproduce something exactly like others when I can. I mean, right? And I say but I hope you guys understand. Like, I super appreciate Greg, Ryan, and James, and then Kochman jumped in the seat one time. And anyone that jumps in and wants to be a part of this, like I appreciate everyone, but so I hope people, when I say I don't think it's like totally selfish. Like, you guys know me by now. It's kind of just a thing that comes out, but it's not meant that way. But I try to nutty buddy. Okay, I'm in on that all day, every day. Like, I love that profile. Like, just don't bring up Dickel, okay? Just don't bring it up. Just don't. Yeah, Makers that last swig was a little better than I thought it would be. But it's not got that depth I was hoping for. It's like they went ahead and threw like 10 staves in here. And the spice came through more than, the mocha is going to be a hard thing to get through, but the spice came through more than I wanted. But what are you going to do? I don't know what to tell you. So excellent. So I am about to call it an evening. I've got an order here for a bullet when I come out. I'm assuming that means a 12-year. Andy Hill, I might have to hit you up again. I have Sarah enjoying the bullet a ton. Each of our top 10 people have similar tastes as you guys. Yeah, I see the value in that, Nick. I see the value in each of us saying, here's where if you gave me not our dream top 10, I think, right, is what you're trying to say there. You're trying to say, what would my top 10 be of things that I've had that are accessible to me? Because, I mean, I can go back and pull out and tell you that, fictitiously, I'm going to bring this up. But it is one that I do enjoy from the Pappy line. The Lot B for me, and maybe the 15-year, but the Lot B for me is actually, to me, of the years I've had, is a standout. But I don't own a bottle of that. I'm not going to have that bottle. It's a $900 retail or $900 secondary bottle. And so when I look at it from that perspective, would it be a top 10? Maybe, but I don't think I'd put it in there because I don't think it's probably going to be, within reach for most people to own a bottle unless you choose to spend that money, which, frankly, the reason why I wouldn't put it in my top 10 is I won't say I'll never spend that kind of money on something, but I doubt that I spend $900 on a Lot B. Yeah. So, okay, I hear you guys from that perspective. If it helps on the palate profile, I'm all in. That makes a lot of sense to me. And we can certainly chat that over and maybe even make that like a fun reveal episode or something and do that. And have fun along the way with that, because it really is going to come out wild, right? I mean, I can tell you right now, like I can almost guess some of James's right now. I can almost guess some of Greg's right now. And Ryan, though I don't drink with him very often, I can almost guess some of his as well. But I'd probably be very surprised by theirs as well. So, yeah. That is that's doable. So I promise you, here's what the old brain does right now. Maybe an end of year list too. Yeah, I mean, that's super common. I plan on doing something like that as well, like end of year recap type stuff. I mean, if you're not doing that, then are you really doing Whiskey Tube? I mean, come on, guys, right? But I really sincerely mean that. Like, you really have to kind of recap the year. I can't guess. You can't guess my top 10. No, I can't guess it exactly, but I bet I could be in the realm. We're not going to do it right here, right now. But if you want to go, we can go. And that might be the cool angle to it, right? We might try to say, give me your 3 guesses of what's in Nate's top 10, what's in James's top 10 amongst our group, and play around with that. What do you guys think about that? If we made it a little more where we know each other a little more, because we've been drinking together a little more. You know, James is in the house. No, James is here. I know what you meant. Haha, kidding. That's a cool idea. What's in your top 10? Now trending worldwide. All right. So top 10, guys. You've sold me on this idea. I like it. I've always said I want to take your feedback and, we'll take some action. Let's take this idea away and kind of figure that out. What's in your top 10? Hashtag what's in your top 10? Now, you guys aren't expecting us to drink all 10 and get whatever, hammered in front of you guys, are you? Because that's not happening. I say that, but yeah. Yeah. James, so here's the hard part, dude. Like, one of them, at least one of them is a Stag Junior. Like, that's easy. That's easy money right there. So, like, if I had to pick 3 and I get points for guessing things in the top 10, that's easy. Yeah, it's called 3 drinks down, not 10 drinks down. That's a good call. I like that. See, LOL, you're laughing. Beyond that, though, so, we were talking, I don't know when you joined exactly, but we were talking about how the whole idea here would be things that are fairly accessible and whatnot. So challenge accepted. Okay. All right. I love that idea. All right. We're going to figure out a concept. I don't know when. I don't know how. We'll figure out how to fit that in and do that because, again, the struggle is, I think it's good content. Clearly, you guys are interested. The struggle is keeping that to 15 minutes and making it where it's not just us reading off a list real quick and giving 5-second thoughts, right? Maybe a couple of them you skip over because you're like, oh, yeah, this is probably on everybody's list. And then you move on. Maybe not, whatever. But getting the depth where we need to, right? That's the real kind of concern. That's a cool idea, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you. This is the feedback I want to hear. This is what you guys are just awesome at. Other feedback we got a while back, which I think we're going to try and make happen in November. And this might be even news to James even. I don't know if I talked to him about it. Oh, I think I did actually. We have a couple of viewers that are I know. It's if I lean in, it's James, I realize that. I don't know why. I think I started leaning back more and then I'm just like, actually you've had too much to drink. So we're looking at potentially leaning over and doing a seltzer off. And that's of course wife Sarah and a few of our watchers, Jessica Nar and others. So yeah, I'll lean in, but I appreciate that, James. I thought I had it set pretty well, and I must have been closer as I started the episode and then just worked my way back. So awesome, fellas. James, did you tell us what you're drinking, sir? Or are you drinking anything? Do a reveal of 2 a show or even 1 a show and stretch it out. That's an idea. It's an idea. I'm not saying positive or negative. It's just that I haven't had a chance to process that because I don't mind mini series type things like that at all, at least from perspective of thinking about you're going to get a viewership to come back and back and back. But that's just got to be, yes, he mentioned the focus. Thank you, dear. I'm not drinking ATM at the moment or automatic teller machine. I don't know which. I just don't know. I mean, obviously we'd have to play it out. I don't know how that would play as an episodic thing. So production team and I finished the entire bottle at a 7 a pour. Oh, I missed a comment. That's why. Elijah Craig loaded barrel earlier. Ha! Hey, it would toast the barrel. All right, coming up. All right. So we took that idea in. We have done the Wilderness Trail, which was excellent. I honestly thought it drank just did you. I mean, it's young, but you didn't get any of those huge alcohol pieces, all that flavor. I would like a little more oaks. I'm hoping maybe that expresses itself. We went through the Casey. Again, much more surprising, not as acidic as I'd hope. Went through this guy, this one. If you find a product, especially like this Westward, this Westward to me is so unique and so delicious. James has had it, just that affogato coffee, just that coffee experience. And James, I even think that it's coming across even more like an earthier coffee. Like I brought up maybe like a Jurgen Chef, which might not be a perfect example, but the idea. And then we jumped into this Makers, which was a little unremarkable to me. And I appreciate you guys. I am probably going to look to wrap this up here in about a minute or two. But last thoughts out here are thank you for the show ideas. Thank you for the feedback on the merch. I'm going to find a way to get that up and running soon. T-shirts as well. And then I did not get a chance to reach out and make contacts on the Glencairns and glassware this week, unfortunately. So that's going to be a little longer go. But that is in the pipeline as well. So all that stuff is coming, and you guys have an opportunity to show off your wares of our items and be able to tell everyone about us. But I can't honestly tell you how much we appreciate your support. We are getting better every day, and that's the goal. And a lot of this feedback is from you guys. And that's where we're at. We want to make sure we keep that going. So, does sound good after I try it again. Yeah. I'm out. Cheers, Nate. All right. That's kind of where I'm at, guys. So you guys know we end every episode. We try to, at least, by reminding you guys, be kind to yourselves. We're often way too hard on ourselves, and things are not ever really that bad. Sometimes they are for a minute, but they're usually never that bad for a really long time. So again, thank you guys for joining this evening, and we will absolutely see you very soon. Yeah, we have a lot of ideas. Keep them coming, guys. Keep the feedback coming, positive, negative, neutral. We can take it. We love it. So we love you guys. Thank you, and have a great weekend.